You know, recovering from an injury sucks. Recovering from an injury when you can't fall asleep sucks worse. And recovering from an injury when you can't fall asleep while simultaneously being hunted by a sociopathic lackey of some dark god with a personal vendetta against you sucks somehow even worse. But you want to know what sucks even more worse? Is having to do all of the above while still being called into work because, as the owners put it, the new guy is a complete and total moron with willful and malicious idiocy that borders on the criminal. And so, here I am, against the doctor's advice at this shitty gas station at the edge of town. Only a little worse for wear. What's really incredible is that I've only been back for like one day and there's already a body count. More on that later. Now, I know I haven't updated the blog in a month, but you know, it's hard to get in front of the microphone when my right leg is broken. Speaking of that leg, my right leg is in a cast from the ankle to the thigh, and I've elected to use crutches because, unsurprisingly, the gas station is not wheelchair accessible. The cast has several signatures and messages, which is very strange because I have no memory of anyone actually signing it. But that could just be a result of the pain meds. Looking down now, I can see that Diego scrawled the message, "Try and stay out of trouble." There's also a message in red crayon. It says, "Jerry was here." A few signatures scribbled in Sharpie, and a little further up my leg, I have to pull my pants all the way up to read this note. Hold on. It says, Well, that's annoyingly cryptic. I would check the tape logs to see who I let get so close to my delicate area, but the owners had every camera in the place removed. Unsurprisingly. I guess. There was something about finding that secret room full of security camera feeds to bring personal privacy into public decision. I feel like the act of removing all the security cameras was a bit of an overreaction though on their part, especially with Spencer still out there. The police took a statement and confiscated the remains of the bomb. They're taking the whole thing very seriously, and an arrest warrant is out for Spencer Middleton should he ever show up again. Well, as for Kiefer, things got a little more interesting. The police were unable to find any evidence that he ever even existed. Weird, right? He had no property in his name, no driver's license, no public record of any kind. The only thing linking him to this town at all, actually, was a graining picture in an old yearbook photo. It would seem that Kiefer was living off the grid ever since he graduated high school. And now that Spencer attempted to blow up the gas station, well, Kiefer has suspended his election campaign and simply disappeared. The sheriff has been sending a new deputy, Arnold, out to check on me once or twice a day. Arnold isn't from around here, which is probably why he agreed to replace Tom as the new gas station babysitter. He's about 6'2", dark-skinned, with a mustache thick enough to plant a yard flamingo in it. He has eyes that constantly telegraph the sentiment, "Knock that nonsense off." And I have yet to actually see him smile. I don't know if Arnold will become the next Tom or the next Spencer. To be honest, right now, he could go either way. Arnold was the one that dropped me off at work today. I'm not supposed to get back behind the steering wheel for a while, which is fine, I guess. It's not like I'm going to go on any road trips anytime soon, right? On the way to work, we passed the SUV of the man with the beard. The one stacked in place on the side of the road by the tree growing up through its engine. I asked Arnold about it, but he just shrugged it off and said, I shouldn't worry myself about other people's business. I asked him about the owner of the vehicle, and Arnold said that they think he got lost in the woods, just like those hikers last fall. A search and rescue effort was underway, and he was confident that they would find him, one way or the other. After Arnold dropped me off for today, I went about my regular shift-starting duties. I reconciled with Marlboro's till, which I was not at all surprised to see that it was somehow $150 over, or that the surplus was entirely somehow in $1 coins. I logged into the invoices that had piled up while I was cut, and I emptied out the trash cans. I was hoping that I might run into the cowboy, but the only thing in the men's restroom was an obese Hispanic trucker pushing the toilet and surrounding air with an unholy fury that honestly deserves its own scary story. The sun was really starting to go down when I managed to hobble out to the dumpster, balancing garbage bags against my crutches and probably looking like a baby deer learning how to walk. You know, if that baby deer were drunk and two-legged and carrying several bags of garbage. The scorched earth near the dumpster was the same that I had left it as, blackened down to the subsoil. And somewhere just past the start of the trees was another patch of smoldered remains, one that I neglected to mention in the police report, and one that might look like, to the casual observer, like the remains of a human body. Before I turned to go back in, I noticed something odd on the side of the dumpster. At first, I thought it was a child's toy, stuck to the dirty outside wall, but then I realized that it was moving, breathing, and crawling slowly, eating the gooey drippings off the rust of the dumpster. The thing looked like a giant tomato caterpillar, about 8 inches long, and as the sun went down, I swear I could see the thing give off its own light source. The squishy caterpillar thing didn't seem to mind my presence and even let me feed it an old Starburst that I had in my pocket. A yellow, because, like all people, I hate the yellow Starburst. The critter bioluminesced a little brighter as it ate the taffy, and I gave it a gentle pet. Its hide wasn't as wet as it appeared to be. In fact, it seemed to be covered in tiny clear hairs. "You're not so bad," I said while it nibbled at the candy. "Not everything out here needs to be scary, huh?" It wiggled and crawled away to a place on the back of the dumpster with even more gunk, and I went back inside the gas station. Marlboro has apparently taken up smoking again. He quit for a while, but then explained that the suffering he was causing himself by not smoking greatly outweighed the suffering he was causing himself and us through the secondhand smoke. And mathematically speaking, it didn't make any sense for him to quit. I had hoped that he was beginning to shed his cultist philosophy after the entire compound mysteriously vanished, but now I'm starting to fear that he can't be rehabilitated. Oh well. Today was pretty normal. Well, not normal, but like an average day at the gas station. We had some strange people visit. We had some normal people visit too, actually. And along the way, I completely zoned out. Finished a book that I'd been reading, and I made some boring journal entries. I even got online to browse the internet for a while. Pretty fun. There's another package sitting under the counter, addressed to me from a return address that I really can't recognize. I took a gamble with the last package and it turned out to be something great. But that was before Spencer tried to kill me, and once again, my gut is telling me not to open it. I got a phone call today, at the store a few hours after sundown. It was pretty late. Hard to say when exactly. Marlboro was asleep in his hammock in the dry storage room, and I couldn't remember the last customer that I'd seen. This was somewhere in that temporal wasteland between dusk and dawn. Hello?
Jack, listen very carefully. You don't know me, but what I'm about to tell you will save your life. But only if you will follow my instructions and do exactly what I say. In the drawer to your right is a pencil and paper. Get them, write this down. There are rules to your survival. 1. Do not leave the gas station. Do not go outside under any circumstances. 2. Do not drink the tap water. Don't even touch it. Don't smell it. Don't look at it. It's bottled water from here on out. 3. Don't trust your eyes. And 4. Barricade the...
Wait, hang on, dude. Where'd you say the pen was? He sighed.
In the drawer to the right.
On my right? Or your right? I asked.
Your right. How the hell would it be my right? I'm on the phone.
Right then, I heard a car horn honk. It was the old widow, Mrs. Sistrunk. She was another local, somewhere in the area of around 100 years old, if I had to guess. And at this point, there was not much more than a skeleton wrapped in an ill-fitting skin suit with vibrant lipstick smeared all around the general mouth area. After her husband died, Miss Agatha Sistrunk had taken to buying and collecting sports cars and oversized trucks and, well, racing them around the outskirts of town at all hours of the night. Her most recent purchase was a brand new Ford F-550 with the painting of the Hulk in all of his green, smashing glory along the side. In person, she was a very sweet old lady, and no taller than about 4.5 feet tall. She wore special shoes to reach the gas pedal, and always came to the gas station to fill up because, well, she knew that I'd help her pump the gas, something that she had never done before, and wasn't interested in learning how to do. "One sec," I said to the voice on the other end of the phone. "I'll be right back. Mrs. Trunk needs me to help top her off."
Listen to me,
the voice growled.
do not go outside. You go outside and you're dead. Do you hear me?
I hear what you're saying, I said as I grabbed my crutches and began to get ready to leave, but I don't work for you. And with that, I hung up the phone and I went outside to help Mrs. Sistrunk. Old Agatha was happy to see that I was back at work. Apparently, Marlboro made her nervous. She said that he was flirting with her and wouldn't stop smoking even while he pumped her gas. Before she left, she gave me a case of empty lighted beers and asked if I would be a lamb and toss these for her. I can't say no to Agatha. When I ran around back to toss her trash, I noticed something incredible. The glowworm from this morning had formed itself into an enormous cocoon against the back of the dumpster. I can't explain why exactly, but this filled me with some sort of, well, I don't know, what means the exact opposite of existential dread. Euphoria? Existential hope? Is this what optimism feels like? Again, I know it doesn't make any sense, but seeing the weird garbage-eating caterpillar thing begin to brave new journey of transformation gave me this tingling feeling in my soul, like this was some kind of sign. And just when the caterpillar thought his world might come to an end, he became a butterfly. My world has felt like it's been coming to an end for a while too, little buddy. Maybe I'm also just on the verge of metamorphosis. Maybe the world doesn't have to be so strange and scary. Maybe it can be strange and cool. I decided that whatever hatched from the cocoon, be it a butterfly or a moth or hell, even a monster, I was going to name it Starburst. I hobbled myself back into the gas station and tossed one last look over my shoulder at the dumpster to see that one of the raccoons was stuffing the cocoon into its mouth. It devoured the whole thing in a couple of bites, right before making eye contact with me, and then dashing right back off into the woods. Diego came by into the store for his late shift and asked how I was feeling. I told him that the pain was tolerable. He nodded, like that was the exact kind of answer he was looking for, and I went back to reading my book. A few minutes later, the man with the beard came into the gas station. I almost actually didn't recognize him as the same man that went off into the woods for a creature he called an anglerfish. He had lost a lot of weight, his beard wasn't nearly as well kept as it was before, and he smelled like he bathed in a tub of pee that someone farted in. "Oh hey," I said when he came in. "You're still alive." "Cool." Did I mention that the man was holding a pistol when he walked in? That thought crossed my mind for the briefest of moments, and I wondered what happened to his really big gun. I didn't have time to ask. He quickly found the locks to the doors and used them, and then covered the short distance to my register, gun extended and aimed at my face. "I told you not to go outside. You're lucky you were even alive," he screamed before grabbing the store phone and yanking it out of the wall. He threw it to the ground with a loud and satisfying smash, and then asked, "Who else is in the building?" "Well, let me see," I said, thinking. "There's you, me, probably the other cashier unless you went into town again. I saw one other car out there. Toyota. That yours?" "No, that's gotta be Diego." And right on cue, Diego walked out from the back and froze at the sight of the bearded man still pointing a gun at my face. Diego might have been tempted to take action if he hadn't been carrying a 50-pound bag of corn over his shoulder. Instead, he just raised his free hand and softly said, "Hey man, we don't want no trouble. If you're after the cash, just go ahead and take it. Ain't no heroes here." The bearded man laughed in a very obnoxious way and said, "Well, there's at least one. My name is Benjamin, and I'm here to save your sorry asses." Diego and I made eye contact. A lot can be conveyed in just an instant if you know the right person that you're looking at. He tried to see what I wanted to do. I was trying to tell him to relax. This was neither the worst nor the weirdest thing that had happened in that room. "Okay," I said. "What do you need us to do, Benjamin?"
"There's something evil under the gas station, and nobody's leaving here until I understand what it is, because I know that someone is working with that thing. I've seen it in my dreams, and I know you have too."
Well, he was wrong about one thing. And then, right then, Marlboro walked out of the dry storage closet, stretching and yawning. Benjamin snapped him into a chokehold before he knew what was going on and jammed the gun against his head.
"Are you listening to me?" Benjamin screamed. "I just told you that the whole world as you know it is just a facade. There's a devil here, and one of you is working for him.
He looked at both of us for some kind of reaction, but I don't think that he quite got what he was looking for. I just shrugged and said, "Neat." And then, right then, Marlboro surprised the pants off of everybody in the room by half yelling and half laughing,
"Oh, yeah, let's do this! I'm not afraid to die!"
before reaching up and grabbing the gun pressed against his head and pulling the trigger. Now, I've seen a lot of weird stuff working at that shitty little gas station. I've been nearly killed at least once or twice. I've watched the same guy die over and over in front of me. I've seen things that may or may not be real because I can't dream, and sometimes I wonder if my mind is making up for that in other ways. I've even seen a ball of lightning, people with blue skin, a man with two heads, a talking dog, and an Elvis impersonator that might have been a little bit too convincing. I've seen so much weird stuff that in this room, no less. But this was the first time that I ever saw a look of surprise like that on anybody's face, and to be honest, it was absolutely priceless.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Benjamin said, backing away from us. "Ain't nothing wrong with us," said Marlboro, relieved to be free of the headlock. "What the hell is wrong with your gun?"
How did you know I was out of ammo?
"Well, I didn't." There was a loud thud as Diego dropped the sack of corn. He was next to talk.
"I think maybe you should get out of here, pal, while you still can." "Afraid I can't do that," Benjamin responded. "Not until this thing is dead. And not until I
heard a wet thunk before I saw anything, before Benjamin went limp and hit the ground. When my eyes caught up to the situation, I had hoped that what I was seeing was a hallucination, but the look of fear on Diego's face told me that this wasn't the case. The man standing behind Benjamin, holding a bloody shovel, the man that had just saved our bacon, was smiling a toothy, delighted smile he only ever made when inflicting the kind of pain that he just inflicted.
"Hey, Jack," said Spencer Middleton. "You miss me?"
He stuck Diego and Marlboro in the walk-in freezer. Marlboro is, and always has been, a go-with-the-flow kind of guy, so he just went into the freezer voluntarily. Diego, however, he did his best to put up a fight, which is why he ended up bruised and bloodied and honestly barely clinging on to consciousness. From what I could see, Benjamin looked like he might be dead. At best, he was out cold in a slowly spreading pool of his own blood. Spencer pulled a couple of chairs out of storage and placed them both in front of the cash register, facing one another. He made me hobble over and sit down in one, and then he spun the other around to sit on it backwards, like a cool schoolteacher from the 90s.
"I just want you to know," he said, "that I'm not mad at you, and neither is he. He wanted me to relay that message."
Spencer's face still had little specks of blood on it from when he had beaten the shit out of Diego. "Who, your boss?" I said.
"Yeah. He was upset at you for what you did to Kiefer, and he wanted to show you what happens to bad children. You were supposed to meet him, but that got all cocked up, huh?"
"I guess it just wasn't my time to die, huh?" I answered. And that's when the smile faded from Spencer's face. He shook his head at me and said,
"What, die? No. You weren't supposed to die. You can't die. We need you."
I saw some movement from behind Spencer, but I tried not to break eye contact. It was Benjamin. He was alive, and right now he was my best shot at getting out of this. He was moving slowly on the ground, regaining consciousness, but miraculously not making any noise. I tried to keep Spencer distracted. "Your boss, tell me more about him. How'd he find you? Who was he?" Spencer chuckled.
"Oh, he's got a lot of names, but you'll meet him soon enough. And this time, we will not be interrupted."
"And my friends?"
"I don't care. They can join us, they can die. It makes me no difference. By the way, Jack, I wanted to ask, did you guys ever figure out who placed that bomb?"
I laughed softly. "Yeah, the police took it. They know it was you. They know everything. Well, almost everything. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, they know, very little, actually, but they know that you tried to kill me and that you planted a bomb in the gas station." Spencer shook his head again.
"Wrong on both accounts. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. And a bomb? Seriously, that's not my style.
I think he had more to say, but I'll never know, because right then, Benjamin yanked his head back and wiped a knife the size of a large chihuahua across his neck, neatly slicing his head damn near halfway off. Blood erupted in a couple of spurts and then stopped, and Spencer Middleton was no more.
That's what you get,
taunted Benjamin as he flung Spencer's lifeless body onto the floor. His blood was pouring out and mixing with all the rest. It was going to suck for whoever had to clean all that up. When we opened the freezer, we found that Marlboro had gone full bad nurse on Diego, sticking clumps of frozen meat all over his face. For the swelling. I made us a fresh pot of coffee, and we took seats around the table by the window, just in case some nosy passerby decided to pass by. We put a tarp over Spencer and moved the wet floor sign right next to it. For about half an hour, we all just sat and drank coffee in a pregnant silence. When we were all done with our third cups, Diego finally spoke. His jaw was swollen to hell, but he was still able to pronounce his words with only minor difficulty.
So, why haven't we called the cops yet? This was clearly self-defense. I've got the face to prove it.
Yeah, said Benjamin, after some lengthy deliberation.
Yeah, let's call them. That would be good. But tomorrow, you, me, and Jack are gonna have a serious talk.
I called Arnold from the only phone in the building with any reception, Spencer's cell. The deputy listened to what I told him, just the most basic and simplified version of what had happened that night, and he said that he would be on his way right after he got out of bed and put some clothes on. I called the owners next. They were not very happy. They told me that next time I should call them first. Next time? Right now the others are in their booths, staring out the window, and I'm sitting here on my laptop documenting the whole night while the memories are still fresh. I know this isn't over yet. I think the gas station is about to have to close for a day or two. But when it opens again, I'll be here, writing my journals and doing my best to ignore anyone who walks through those doors. So I guess that means that this is to be continued.